All right, everybody. Well, hey, speaking of suns out, guns out, we've got our buddy here. Yeah, there you go. The PhD, the previously heavy dude, my buddy Adam Schaeuble out here, who is absolutely a rock star out there. A guy who's not only tall in stature, but tall in voice and energy, really taking things to a different level with what he's doing with the Million Pound Mission podcast, the casting the pod, the marketer that this guy does. And obviously, too, a passionate father and a husband out there, and just an advocate and coach for people out there doing things. So we're honored to have my buddy Adam Schaeuble join us here today on Social Media Day 2020. What's going on this morning, brother?
Scott Carson, merry Social Media Day to one and all, and to all a good night. Man, this is awesome, man. I love what you're doing. I love combining energy with this guy over here. And honestly, Scott, the first thing I thought of when you sent me the schedule, I was like, so Scott isn't going to use the bathroom or eat for 12 hours. This is intense. That was the immediate thing. I'm like, does he have like a bladder bag underneath the desk? Like, what's going on here? If you see Scott leave for a while, we know what's going on. That's all I'm saying.
I've already had my 1 minute bathroom break a couple of speakers ago, so we're golden.
Runs off screen.
Luckily, I'm at a house, so the bathroom is less than 10 foot from here for the most part. Yeah. So yeah, there's a few people that I know have presentations conveniently located throughout here.
Very, very nice. I'm just glad that you're taking care of. I'm always concerned about health first, and like bladder health is important. So
I'll be drinking a lot of cranberry juice tomorrow. Do you know?
Exactly.
So let's reel it back in the train on the tracks here a little bit if we can. You got tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing and kind of your, I guess you could say your social media game plan and kind of your roadmap to what's helped you be successful.
Yeah. So my kind of tip of the spear when I market things and plug people into what I've got going on, that's my podcast. I've got two podcasts. One's a health podcast, Million Pound Mission. The other one is a podcast about podcasting called Casting the Pod. So that's kind of the tip of the spear. So that's always, I feel like understanding that most people enter my realm through that method, that's important to know when it comes to social media, because then I can kind of trace things back from there. Because we know if you are looking to monetize down the road, they enter usually through the podcast, and I want to get them to a place where I can monetize, and we can use social media to kind of drip the breadcrumbs between those two spaces. So whether you're an author or a public speaker or a YouTuber, you got to think about that entry point and then eventually where we want to get them. And then how do we use social to really create engagement and conversation in between? Does that make sense, Scott?
Totally does make sense there. Your hands on rattling them into the stove.
Yes. And Scott's a master at this. Like, this guy is someone that I look up to as far as like, I follow Scott because he's my friend, but I also follow him to really analyze what he's doing. I'm like, ooh, that makes a lot of sense. That I see what he's doing there. So just a plug to the way you handle your social. So engagement is the key for me. And social media is always shifting and changing. And there are new things that Facebook does that they throw a lot of algorithm juice behind, or Instagram. And so we want to follow those rabbit holes a little bit. So for example, right now, a really neat change that Instagram has recently made is when you go live on Instagram, it used to save inside of your story for 24 hours, and then it would go away. Now they give you the option. It does not save inside your story. It will save inside of Instagram TV forever if you want it to, which is interesting because I used to teach a rigged technique version of this. I think the last time I spoke to your Texas podcasters group, I taught them the one-stop shop where you would go live, save the video, post it to Instagram TV, save it there, save it in your story, and then link them all with links in the story. And now they must have heard me say that because they created this thing where they automatically do it. So what I'm noticing, and you have to follow the algorithm, something new just happened within the whole Facebook ecosystem, which Instagram is a part of. You go, okay, they're probably going to put some juice behind that. They're probably going to add some of their algorithm fire behind that. So we've got to be ready for that and make use of it. So I'm going live more often now, saving it to Instagram TV, and I'm seeing my engagement on IGTV go up just because anytime there's something new, they're like, we want people using this. It's like when Facebook Lives first started happening, you get massive engagement. They would alert everybody that follows you. But that's in a short window. So we need to take advantage of that. But engagement wise, the two areas that I'm really seeing a lot of engagement for myself and my community right now is in stories, both Instagram and Facebook stories. I feel like people are really interested, especially if they're coming from the podcast space. They start to hear and learn from me, and now they get a peek inside of my world. And as you know, Scott, I'm pretty unfiltered in my stories. Like I'll be sitting half naked in my sauna, sweating my butt off, and I'm pitching a story, videos of my kids, my dog, me playing basketball, doing whatever, just random thoughts. And I'm getting a lot of engagement, a lot of juice there. And again, that facilitates community, and that facilitates trust, where they eventually go, yeah, I want this guy to coach me doing a 28-day meal plan or whatever it is that I'm trying to kind of walk them down the path towards. And with the story, and to kind of go down the story rabbit hole a little bit, something I'm noticing that's different is a lot of people just take their Instagram stories and push it over to Facebook, and that's okay. But there's a key difference with Facebook stories and Instagram stories. And that is, on Facebook, there's a little preview screen. So you have to be very careful and think, all right, if I have picture 1, 2, and 3, and on Instagram, you can just put them up, they see the circle of you and they click on it and they look at your stories, no big deal. But on Facebook, that first image they see is super important. That's got to be the most eye-catching thing. And you have to realize that's going to be leading for 24 hours. So if you post a bunch of really important stuff right behind that, none of that will be seen in that preview slide, and people may just skip right past it, which we don't want. So you have to be very thoughtful and mindful about that first Instagram story that's active that people are seeing. So I test out all kinds of things, and lo and behold, you'll see a lot of me with no shirt on in the sauna, and that's my leading story in Facebook, because I get the most engagement. People going, "What the hell's going on here?" And then they'll follow the rest of the stories. If you have something that's text, like right now, I've got text. I'm doing an online workshop with one of my podcasts, and it's big, readable text, so that you can go to the story, and that little tiny preview, you can still see the big text. You don't want some little tiny texts and people are like, "What's this about?" So engaging pictures, it's anything that will produce curiosity. And then you're thinking about kind of leading those breadcrumbs down. And then if you have multiple things throughout the day, don't put them all in one big string. You want to space them out by several hours. So you want to think in a 24-hour news cycle. Okay, they check my morning stories. I've got my lead slide for that. That started at 9 a.m. That'll be the first slide until 9 a.m. the next day, unless I delete it for some reason. So maybe at noon or 3 p.m., I put the next one. Then for 24 hours off of that, it'll lead and be the first thing. So if you, like when I have a podcast episode to promote, in my Facebook story, I'll have that slide as the main one. And then some, I like polls and things like that, where I'll do the opposite in Instagram stories. I have this technique that I teach called the have you ever question, where I like to ask a poll question that is answered by my episode that I'm promoting. So this week I'm doing a goal achieving workshop. So yesterday I asked the poll question. I put it up in Facebook and in Instagram. I said, all right, do you feel like right now it'd be a good idea to reset your goals for 2020 for the second half of the year? And it's like 99% yes. Somebody said no just because they had to do the opposite of everyone else. But the difference between Instagram and Facebook stories is I led with that poll in Instagram stories, because the order doesn't really make a whole lot of difference visually. And I like to ask the question where they're opting in going, yes, I do want to reset my goals. Next slide is, oh, well, I'm doing a workshop this week on my podcast, 5 episodes. Here's episode 1, swipe up and get it. I like that pattern. And then I've got a free PDF download for the workshop. That's the next slide. So we've got poll for them to raise their hand and go, yes, I do need this. Next slide, image of the show with a swipe up link. Then the next slide is a swipe up link with the PDF, so we can collect some email addresses. That's optimal for me. But on Facebook, I don't want to lead with that poll, because that may not grab their attention. So I lead with the episode slide. then I go poll, then I go workshop, but you can't do swipe up links on Facebook, which is a stinker. But maybe someday. So is that making sense so far, Scott? Is that helpful?
It totally is. I think it's totally making it helpful for everybody out there. And I want to kind of go back to some of the things that you've done early on that really helped you grow your Instagram audience too. Because I love what you're doing in the stories on both sides. You've got to be specific and tweak it to each platform is important. Using the same stories, but different type of how engagement tactics are for you. But you did something really cool early on, and I've still seen you doing it from time to time, is doing some Instagram lives and doing mini online summits a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yes. So anybody that is putting information out there, and if you're interviewing anybody in any platform, or if you want to, doing live interviews on Instagram is what really built my Instagram up. You borrow the other person's platform a little bit and their followers hop over. So the example I love to give is, if you guys are watching, I've got this image behind me. These are screenshots from my show Million Pound Mission, by the way, super fancy. This is Matt and Mega from the Keto for Normies podcast, and their website is Keto Connect. The keto community is giant. They've got like 4 million YouTube subscribers. They have they have 500,000 Instagram followers. They are gigantic. So I interviewed them for my podcast, Million Pound Mission. We had a great interview. And I said, hey, I would love to do a follow-up interview, a little Q&A on Instagram, 15 minutes, no big deal. It helps build engagement. It's another win for them. If you're a podcaster or an interviewer, getting a double win like that is great for just building that connection. And also, if you're a podcaster, or if you're looking to get on podcasts, invite them and share your platform a couple of times first. 80% of the time, you'll get invited to be on their platform as well. You make friends. That's what we do. Instead of doing random emails going, I'd be a great guest for your show, blah, 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 because we get 10 million of those emails every single day as podcasters. Scott can attest to that. So what I did, we did an interview, great interview, did a follow-up interview the day after that interview happened. And we just went live, and my audience knows that they can show up and meet these people and ask questions. And so we went about 15 minutes. But the nice thing about Instagram is that when you go live and pull someone in, it's all done within the platform. You don't have to do anything outside. There's a button when somebody comes on to ask to join the live cast. They click on that, split screen. It's that easy. But my account, Instagram account algorithm is going, hey, Adam's live, and they're announcing it to my people, but so is theirs. And that's the key. So at the time I had like 6,000 something Instagram followers, and I was kind of ramping up, but they had, 500,000, like I said. So the algorithm's pulling in both directions. And all of a sudden I start seeing the comments going, da, 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 da. It looked like the New York Stock Exchange. Like, I was like, they're flying in. I'm kind of freaking out. I'm like, oh my God. So I kind of grounded myself, and I really started promoting, hey, there's two little symbols in the top corner. That's my image and Matt and Mega's image. If you're not following my account, if you haven't listened to our episode yet, click on my picture and you can get the episode right there in my profile. And I had 300 people follow me in 15 minutes. And I legit, like a year after that interview, I was still getting followers that knew me from them and that connection, because eventually they had me on their show and they've had me on their YouTube channel, which is giant. But that little extra ad, if you're a podcaster and you do interviews, this is a must. If you want to grow your account, this is the easiest way to grow your account. And really use that algorithm, and it's great content, and it increases engagement. It uplevels the value to your guests, because they get exposure to your audience. It uplevels the value for your audience because that gives them exposure to your guest. And then you benefit from the algorithm of the other person's account. So it's a triple win, hard to beat. And so do you have any specific questions about that before we dive into the multiple lives?
No, I love it. You exactly went that rabbit hole. I just pushed you in the right direction, and you're rolling perfectly, because I thought it would be perfect content out there for you, for everybody out there today. Because there's so many people we live in such a visual society. And while Instagram isn't the ideal audience for my avatar for my show, it's still stuff we go on, present, and share our infographics and still have an audience on there and still are growing that audience. I need to do more of that because every time I have done it, it's been valuable. It's just a matter of, okay, I need to pencil that in as something that we do on a regular basis.
Yeah. Or like if you guys are, your audience is showing up in LinkedIn, then do the lives in LinkedIn. I know that there's potential there. Facebook, same thing. Like my audience primarily is Instagram, secondary Facebook, very third level LinkedIn. And that's where I hang out. I think that's something that, since we're talking about social media, before I dive into the multi-live thing, like something that I feel like is important that needs to be out there. There are a lot of newer people to the scene. They feel like they have to be everywhere all at once. And I would much rather encourage you to find one or two that you know where your audience is hanging out. Like dabble, throw some fishing lines out there. I'm from Indiana, we fish, you throw a few lines out there, see which pond is best serving you, where you're getting the most bites, the most interaction, and then dive deep there. For me, that's Instagram and Facebook. For Scott, it might be Twitter and LinkedIn. And don't feel bad. Like people are on me about TikTok, Scott. They are on me. They're like, you're funny. You got to be on TikTok. You do funny Instagram stories. And I'm like, I don't have time to learn a new language. It's going to take away from the other two places where I'm already serving people and I'm monetizing and I feel really good about it. I'm going to take that pressure off myself. If I, want to do it later, everybody's like, you're going to miss out on the land grab of TikTok. And I'm like, I started an account. I kind of checked it out. I did my due diligence. And I was like, this is going to take me too much time and energy to figure out. And that's taking away from my things that are already working. And why would I do that? So that's my soapbox about the fear of missing out with social media.
Well, you can only do the flossy so many times, Adam. You can only do the flossy so many times. Now, if you did it live from your sauna or live from the keto bar factory, that might work out.
It may work out. Who knows? So back to the live, I call it a mini mastermind. This is kind of ninja move level up graduate degree of going live on Instagram. What you do is you block off an hour and you book 3 guests and you tell them each you're going to go live for 15 minutes for each one. So, you know what he's doing. I'm going, it's all I can think about at this point. So if I have a podcast topic, I got several guests. I did one on overcoming adversity, not anniversary, overcoming adversity. And I lined up 3 speakers that had been on my show before. And I was like, all right, the topic for 3 Expert Thursday is overcoming adversity. If you're interested in this, you're going to want to tune in during this hour. And I put lots of promo out there. You pull in person 1 and you do the Instagram live with them and you interview them. But then at the end, you ramp up into the next person, because you have to think you're pulling in people from my side of the equation, but also theirs. And they aren't following me for the most part. So I will go, okay, anybody that's not following my account, make sure that you click on my image, follow my account now, because here comes guest number 2 and you don't want to miss what they have to say on this topic. And so you kind of build up that next guest. It incentivizes them to follow your account and see the next speaker. So then you X off of them. Very easy. There's an X button. Click them. That takes them off the screen. The next person opts in to come into the live chat. Boom. Guest number 2 is on there. We're talking to them. Same thing. We let them deliver. Then we promote, hey, if you guys just tuned in from guest number 2's account, you already missed person number 1. Here's what they spoke on. Don't worry. This will all be saved inside of my Instagram TV. Follow my account. You're not going to want to miss person number 3. This is what they're going to talk about. They're amazing. Click on my image, follow my account, and here we go. So again, incentivize them. Then we push into person number 3 and we do the same thing. Promote the person 1, person 2 at the end. And so you guys have already missed out on this. Click on my image. It'll be saved in my Instagram TV. Go back, watch it. It's there. It's archived. You don't want to miss out. And you will pick up a massive amount of followers because it's algorithm build. And it is really fun. You got to make sure you have good, strong internet. You don't want the person interviewing's face to freeze and then the little spinny circle thing happens and then you have to pretend like you know what they're saying. Done that before. That's the only thing with going live on Instagram. Every once in a while, it gets a little shaky poo, and you got to like pretend that you know what they're saying, and they're going, duh. You're getting like every eighth word that they say, and you just nod your head and yes, I see what you're saying there. But otherwise, if you get good internet flow, it's awesome. You feel that momentum. Your audience is going to love it. You're going to pick up a ton of, when you pick your topic, think about the ideal follower for you and then curate the content and the guests around that. So if you are getting ready to design a intermittent fasting course, curate and go, okay, we're going to do a 3 expert Thursday, or, that's just when I did it. That's what I called it. And we're going to do one on intermittent fasting. And you're going to have 3 speakers on giving tips for intermittent fasting. And then guess what? Maybe you pitch at the end a course that you have on intermittent fasting, or maybe you have all 3 experts on some sort of up-leveled, they've chipped in, you've all teamed up on a course, a online summit, something like that may be a good idea. And you can pitch that at the end. And so there's all sorts of ways. I'm big on with live casting. It's like this big ball of energy. It's that Star Wars Death Star. That's good to have that. And you'll use the algorithm, you'll build your account, but where are we going to point that Death Star and fire it? That's important. Don't waste all that energy. All right. It's very, very important. So if you have a topic going and you're working up a frenzy at the end, what's the next step? Are you going to have them opt into a free thing, deliver a course, subscribe to your podcast, anything? Let's take that energy and ramp it up into that next step. But the only thing that with that Instagram live is create some buffer. So if you're going to go live for an hour, I like letting each speaker know they're going to have 15 minutes. That way they know like there's a hard stop here and we can't go over this. And that way you've got some buffer time at the end if you want to make an up-level sale or pitch or something like that.
So start off 5 minutes, kind of get the algorithm rolling, bring people on, then 15 minutes later, second person, next 15 minutes later, third person, and that leaves you 10 minutes in the back end to the wrap up and soft kind of loop.
Exactly. And another thing I've noticed is every 10 to 15 minutes that I stay live, like I'm live continuously, the algorithm juice seems to happen and if you go live, you guys should all just experiment with this and go live for like 45 minutes to an hour, even if it's just you. And you'll notice every 10 to 15 minutes that you're live, more people start buzzing in there. And then if you can get people to comment or hit the heart button, so if you initiate that, like, hey, let me know where you're dialing in from. That's an easy one. And they also, I'm from Indiana, I'm from Hawaii, I'm from Poland, and all of that drives the algorithm. Or you can say, hit the heart button if you agree with what I'm about to say. Boom, 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 boom. Algorithm. So it's activity. It's Instagram going, ooh, something's happening. I better tell more people. It's like, and anytime I see like Scott or any of my friends going live, I start cramming that heart button. I'm like, I'm getting you some algorithm juice, brother. Here we go.
Brother.
So anybody that, if you ever see me going live, please give me algorithm juice. That's like putting a tip in my tip jar.
Exactly. Now, where do you see, well, let's talk about monetization with a few minutes we got left here. You're doing these things. What is kind of your intro aspect to, you got an online course, free checklist, free goal setting thing. But when it comes into that kind of like, dollar thing, what do you see working good as kind of an intro offering?
Right now for me, it seems like since the pandemic has hit, my larger group stuff hasn't got, I figured that would go better, but people are looking for one-on-one customized, personalized attention, especially in the health space. So that's going very well. I started offering one-on-one 45-minute strategy sessions and then a 28-day one-on-one coaching program. And it's super easy, super low overhead. We're talking Google Docs. We're talking Zoom. That's about email. That's about it. And so it doesn't have to be a course. It doesn't have to be all that. And then, I feel like once the environment starts to change a little bit more, the larger group stuff will and we can plug them into off the back end there once they get comfortable with you. But that's going really well. I'm testing something for all the podcasters out there. I'm doing these what I'm calling workshop weeks, which I'm doing right now for Million Pound Mission. I've got one scheduled for Casting the Pod at the end of July, where it's instead of doing one episode per week, I'm picking a niche down topic and doing 5 episodes that are smaller and shorter. and then we level up into a paid implementation group. So we do a free workshop, then we get them to opt in and say, I'm going to put skin in the game, usually $97 or less. Then we get them into an implementation group for the next week, or it could be a challenge or anything like that. And then we can level up into a higher ticket off of that. So you have pre-qualified people going, yeah, I'll spend $47 to do a daily Zoom chat in the group to make sure I'm implementing what I learned last week in the free workshop. And then we can pitch the coaching, the one-on-one stuff, or like courses off of that. And that's, again, super low overhead, super low tech. And it's just that energy transfer. Again, it's like, all right, we've built up momentum and energy, push them to the next thing. Energy here, next thing. And just give people the opportunity to do that. And I started realizing I needed to do this more often because people would ask me like, what the heck do I do next, Adam? You got me all fired up. Now what I do, I'm like, brilliant idea. I should have something for you to do next. That makes sense. So listen to your audience if they're asking for stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the people think I see that $97 price point do well. It's an intro kind of a dip their foot in the water, get to see if they like it. It's not that too big investment. And then, but those that stick with it are really though, hey, what's next? What's next? Because they're invested in you now. You're invested in them too. But I love the fact that you said something there very, very simple. Keep it simple, low tech, so that anybody can get onto it. You don't have to be fancy, Darth Vader expert at anything, to go out and make things happen, right?
Yeah. As entrepreneurs and people that are dabbling in social media, we can tend to get in over our heads and spend a lot of money and a lot of time. Like I've invested in courses and created all these things and filming and equipment. And then my mom didn't even buy it. Like, I'm like, oh,
well, she bought my stuff, dude.
I know. Dang it. So it's just like a kick in the head. And I'm like, man, that was a waste of time. So connecting with your audience, asking them what they want, that's a great use of social media and that's a great way to engage with your audience and make them feel like they're a part of it, because they really kind of should be. Like, ask them what they want, ask them what their pain points are. And like this workshop I'm doing on my podcast this week is all because I'm talking to all sorts of people and they're going, I feel like this year is already screwed. I need to hit the reset button. I'm like, how about we do a goal reset workshop for the second half of the year? And they're like, exactly what I need. And I'm like, all right, here we go. So find out what those pain points are. Ask your people, put out a poll on your Instagram stories or Facebook stories, put out on an Instagram or Facebook post or wherever, like ask people, like, what are you struggling with right now? How can I help? Out of these three things, what is the thing that you would most like me to dive deeper on my show or on my YouTube channel and on my blog, and just initiate that engagement. That's a big part of social media, is people get on there and they're like, yo, Adam, I'm posting all the time, but I'm not getting any engagement. And it's like, you posting isn't engagement. You engaging is engagement. So for example, when people follow me on Instagram, I'm struggling to keep up with this, and I hate even saying it again because people call me out on it if I miss them. But the normal for me is somebody follows me on Instagram. I see that, I send them a voice message from me welcoming them, and I mention their name and the day that it is and everything, so they know that this isn't a bot. And they're like, holy crap, this guy just messaged me personally. He took the time to do that. I'm in, and that's initiating engagement. So kind of as a last point, if I can hammer that home, is find ways for you to reach out to your people and make them feel special and make them feel heard. And any way you can do that, that's a home run social media strategy.
Yeah, I'll echo that from Joe Fear right before you came on here too. Our buddy Joe out there with Hustle and Flow Chart saying the same thing. Anytime personal experience. Now I want to add one thing here. You were a gym owner and sold your gym before the Corona catastrophe out there for gym owners, right? Everything is shut down for 60 days. It's still shut down here in Austin, Texas. But you're still training people. You're still going through that, helping them achieve their goals, still helping them with weight loss, health on a regular basis, because you have implemented these things online. What would you say if you knew then what you know now? What would you have your investment really spent as far as software and equipment and stuff like that? Not talking workout equipment, but like camera and stuff. How little could you do what you're doing for what you're doing? How can you do the things that you do, what you do?
You need a phone, you need a smartphone, laptop, Zoom, and Google Docs for good. That's what I do for my coaching. It's that simple. And some way for them to pay you, PayPal or whatever, it could be that simple and low budget, and you can be an online entrepreneur.
I love it. Are you still live streaming to multiple platforms with 6 iPhones at the same time these days, or not?
Yes. If I go live, I'm going to have several phones. That's one of the last thing I did as a gym owner. I collected a bunch of old iPhones, and obviously there's no service, but there's like little computers, and I'll go live everywhere at once with all my phones. I just ordered a new mount because my sister stayed with us and she kicked over my ring light and broke everything on accident. She's 6'3" and has giant feet like I do. So she was trying to sneak into my sauna and kicked everything over, and she felt so bad. Anyway, she bought me new stuff. So that's all coming in. So yeah, I'll be able to multi-live stream again.
There you go. Adam, what's the best way for people to reach out to connect with you, find out more what you're doing?
Yeah, millionpoundmission.com or castingthepod.com, and then Million Pound Mission on Instagram. Hit me up, and if you follow me, you'll probably get a voice message from me.
Awesome, man. Thank you again for coming online and doing such great stuff. We looking forward to the time we can hang out and crack up at each other a little bit, huh, brother?
Big bear hug coming at you, Scott.
That's right, baby. That's right.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Also, guys, if you're doing voiceover work, Adam is available for voiceover work as well, too. Yes.
This time, it's for real.
We'll see you later, Adam. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.